Hi students, in this video I'll be going through the 2023 O-Level Mathematics Paper 1 question 15. Alright, so the question wants us to explain why 2n minus 1 square minus 2 times n minus 5 times 2n minus 1 is a multiple of 3 for all integer values of n. Okay, so before we start the question, let's try to understand more. What does it mean for a number to be a multiple of 3, right? So the multiples of 3 as we know are 3, 6, 9, and 12, right? So 3 we can express it as 3 times 1, 6 we can express it as 3 times 2, 9 we can express it as 3 times 3, 12 we can express it as 3 times 4. Okay, so over here you can see that a multiple of 3 will be 3 multiplied by an integer. Okay, so 1 is an integer. Okay, same thing, 2 is an integer, 3 is an integer, and 4 is an integer. Okay, so basically what we want to do now is we want to transform this particular expression into something that is 3 multiplied by an integer. So if we are able to do so, then we will be able to explain why it's a multiple of 3. Okay, so now let's try to simplify the expression 2n minus 1 square minus 2 times n minus 5 times 2n minus 1. Okay, so there are two ways to go about simplifying this. One way you can factorize out the 2n minus 1, okay, for both the terms. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand everything and then simplify it first and then try to factorize out a 3, okay? So I think this method will be easier for most of you to understand. Okay, so expanding 2n minus 1 square, we will get 4n square minus 4n plus 1, right? Okay. Then, okay, let's expand these two brackets first, okay? So we will get 2n squared, okay, minus n minus 10n plus 5. Okay, so let's simplify a bit. Okay, if we simplify inside the bracket, we will get 2n squared minus 11n plus 5. Okay, so we will get 4n squared minus 4n plus 1 minus 4n squared plus 22n minus 10. Okay, so this will simplify to 22n minus 4n will be 18n. Okay, the 4n square will subtract itself away. Then we will have negative 9, 1 minus 10. Okay, so from here we can see clearly that we will be able to factorize out a 3 so that we will be able to get 3 times 6n minus 3, right? Okay, so now the question to ask is this: is 6n minus 3 an integer or not? Okay, so note here, the values of n, n will consist of all integer values, okay? So n is an integer. Okay, so if you put an integer into n, 6 times an integer will still be an integer. And then you minus 3, of course, the whole thing will still be an integer. Okay, so in other words, since 6n minus 3 is an integer, that means this expression is 3 times an integer, which will make it into a multiple of 3. Okay, so let's write a concluding statement, okay, to summarize what we have just shown. Okay, so it's important to say that 6n minus 3 is an integer in this case, so we'll write since 6n minus 3 is an integer, okay, for all integer values of n, okay, so this particular expression which we have simplified, okay, 2n square, okay, let's include this hence, okay, 2n square minus 2 times n minus 5 times 2n minus 1, which is equals to 3 times 6n minus 3 is a multiple of 3. Okay, multiple of 3. Okay, so this question can be asked with other multiples. It can be multiple of 5, multiple of 7, multiple of 6, or whatever. So if they ask you for multiple of 5, then your objective would be to get 5 times an integer. Okay, if they ask you for 6, then 6 times an integer. So no matter what number they ask you, the approach to solving such questions or to explain such questions is always the same. Okay, if they ask you for a particular number, multiple of a particular particular number, that means it's a particular number times an integer. Okay, so that will be the way to answer such an explanation question. All right.